All right, we are back with your favorite podcast show of the week. This is Location Weekly, and it's episode number 455. And we're recording live on Sunday evening. It is March the 8th. It is the official daylight savings changeover day. So for those who do that, like we do here in Toronto, and you do, right, Ariana? So how are you?
I'm tired. It's like the longest, shortest day of the year. We sprung forward an hour. It's also, though, International Women's Day.
Yes.
So it's all those women out there listening. You won't hear this on International Women's Day, but happy day to you. And you know what? Like, it's kind of bogus, though, that they give us International Women's Day on the shortest day of the year. So we don't even get like a full 24 hours. We got 23 hours.
How many women are waking up going, I want my extra hour of sleep? Yeah.
I want my extra hour of sleep, but I want my extra hour of celebration.
Mhm.
Come on.
You should do it on the fall switch back when you get the extra hour.
Exactly. Then we get 25 hours.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, we've got a good show for you. For those of you who are stuck at home and can't travel anywhere, like me. The good news is that you don't have to travel anywhere to see and watch and listen to this show. You can just be in your home office, sitting on the couch, pajamas on, whatever. We've got a show for you. So here we go. 3 industry news stories, 3 member news stories, and as always, our Brianna will kick it off.
I will. I am not on my couch, but I am in my pajamas. So if it makes you feel any better, I am all cozied up for a story that you should be reading whenever you have pajamas on, because it is pizza. I always get the pizza stories and I always go first. So Papa John's is doing some AR fun. And I actually really like this story. I think I'm usually a little bit, I don't know, Debbie Downer on some of the AR, but we've had a few good ones lately that we've liked. And this is another one because it has some really strong numbers behind it. So Papa John's did a Valentine's Day AR Snapchat lens. And what they did, they were promoting their like heart-shaped pizzas, and they had the front-facing camera, where you could do the different lenses and play with the heart themes. But what's really important is that after the Snap users were able to have fun with that little feature, they could order a pizza. And they had a conversion rate of 25%. So 1 out of every 4 people who actually did this ordered a pizza. That is pretty incredibly high numbers. They saw 60%, 60% of the lens viewers were also unique, and 6% lift in brand awareness. So, who cares about the brand awareness so much? But 25% conversion, that's real dollars. They invested in Snapchat and they probably saw a big return on that. So I think that's really huge. We always talk about like the power of words or the power of like visualization, and what does that mean? So when people kind of visualize themselves eating a pizza and it's Valentine's Day and maybe you're not with somebody and you just need some comfort food, order that pizza. So today is kind of funny. Today at church, I told you about the whole like Pop-Tart thing they were talking about. And then I ended up buying Pop-Tarts. And I thought this story was very appropriate because today they're talking about, have you had the Popeyes chicken sandwich? It was there and then it was gone and now it's back. And I actually have been presenting some case studies recently about that whole thing. And so today I was like, you know what? I haven't had my cheat day this week. It's like, my husband has to work. I don't really feel like cooking. So I'm never taking my kids to Popeyes. Let's do it. And I did. And I had the chicken sandwich. But it's just crazy how the power of visualization or the power of words has the ability to make you want something that you would usually not go and eat. So whether that's a heart-shaped Papa John's pizza or a Popeyes chicken sandwich, I think this is a powerful thing that they have the ability to obviously make people want something. You see it and you want it, and if it's right there and easy for you to order it through Snapchat, hey, I think this is super smart, and I think this is the way that AR campaigns or QSR should be run.
But the most important question is, how was the Popeyes chicken sandwich?
All right, so this is what my husband asked me. He's like, please tell me you got the chicken sandwich at least. And I'm like, I did get it. It was okay. I think that maybe Popeyes was having an off day because I've heard from so many people how great it was. Like it didn't have the sauce that I heard was supposed to be on it. The bread was kind of hard. So I just ended up eating just the chicken and not the sandwich. So I was like, maybe they're having an off day. I would maybe try it again. I would not say that it was far superior to Chick-fil-A by any means.
There you go.
Sorry.
All right, all right. Well, if Popeyes is listening, send her another one. Let her give her another chance. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so I like this story. I don't have a lot to add to it. I think we're seeing more and more great AR executions. Obviously, the conversion rate, 1 in 4, is huge. Um, and what I like about it too is that if you're familiar with using the Snapchat lens feature and things like that, it's easy to sort of activate this. But if you're not, you can also you sort of get into the stream of this experience through the Snap Codes type of application, which is like a QR code essentially. So it's an AR physical marker that you would put on, a poster or a sign somewhere in the window of the store or that type of thing, and then from there, basically launch you into the application. So, it's another great way to sort of add and onboard more users into the campaign, which I think was a good thing to kind of throw in there as well. So yeah, that's it. I like it. On to our second story. Now this one's super interesting to me. So Purina, pet food company in France, has been playing around. So this is a partnership between Purina and their agency McCann, teamed up to create something that they call StreetVet. And so using essentially out-of-home billboard advertising. So this is like an interactive billboard essentially. And they pack it full of, pheromones that attract the dogs. And so you're out walking your dog essentially in the streets of Paris, and you come nearby one of these billboards, and the dog sort of picks up the scent, if you will, and then goes there and is basically encouraged to urinate on the billboard, like dogs do. And what it does is that they built the billboard in such a way that it can analyze the urine and then detect if there's any health problems on the spot with your dog, which is why it's called Street Vet, as in veterinarian. It takes about 30 seconds to do the analysis, and then there's a digital screen that spits out the results. And then it comes up with recommendations on a diet that might be helpful to prevent further disease progression. And if it's really serious in terms of what they detect, then basically you can download the full results of the medical assessment and then take that to your actual veterinarian for further investigation. So I think it's kind of fun. I think it's cool. It's different. It's interesting. It brings me way back in the LBMA. To I think probably I'm going to say somewhere around 2012, 13. There was a campaign with a pet food company out of Germany called Granada, and they had done a billboard with for dogs also, but with food. And this was like a sort of high-end organic dog food, pomegranate-based dog food. I don't know how I remember that, but anyways. Basically you would go up to the billboard as you're out walking your dog. And it was a campaign tied in with Foursquare. You would check in at that time, 2013. We're not checking in anymore. 2013, you check into the billboard as a location, and then it would actually it had this like bowl there, and it would spit out like a sample of dog food that your dog could go up and just eat from and try it out. So product sampling from a billboard for dogs in this case, figuring out kind of what their health issues are. So I think it's kind of fun. It's interesting. What do you think?
I mean, it kind of made me laugh, honestly. Like I'm not saying it's not creative. I think it's totally creative, and but man, would I have loved to be in that meeting whenever whoever that creative director was that presented this idea, like to their executives, like this is what we're going to do. It just made me laugh, and I was like also wondering how many humans have tried this out. But yeah, It kind of reminded me of a different story that we talked about a long time ago where there was like a restaurant that could be tailored so specifically to you that you could send in your stool 2 weeks in
Yeah.
advance so that you could have something that was tailored specifically towards your like gut. Anyways, I mean, I think this is really interesting. I don't know if it's the way to go from a billboard perspective, but I think they put a lot of thought into it. And yeah, I mean, I can't really knock it. It's for dogs, but it's still a little, it's out there. They're definitely pushing the boundaries. I like it.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So, I mean, like, good on Nestle for sort of pushing the boundaries a little bit, trying to get a little more creative in ways to promote the quality of their, their pet food product stuff. So there you go. All right, third story.
So this is a very interesting story to me. Instacart is sort of promoting this new feature they had been testing out. And like many other marketers and advertisers trying to play on, the hype and the climate of coronavirus and everything that's going on. And what's interesting is like just 2 days ago, we were doing this research internally about what's the effect been of the coronavirus for like food delivery apps or, things like Instacart or, anything like that. And we really weren't seeing like some of the app downloads were going up, some were going down, some daily active users were going up, others were going down. So it was really hard to see anything consistently changing. But something in this story is that Instacart was testing out this feature basically that gives the customers the option to just have their service person or their delivery person just leave the groceries on the doorstep. I feel like this is what I always do because inevitably I think I'm going to be home and then I'm 20 minutes late and I'm not home. And so I just am telling them just leave it on the doorstep. It's fine. And so, but this now is like an actual option. And they said that they were testing this and started seeing more and more people take advantage of this feature. And they were saying that, maybe it was because it's a safety thing from coronavirus. Like they don't want to be having any, I guess, interaction with the outside world. So sales also, they're claiming that sales have jumped tenfold over the last week and as high as 20 times over in areas where there were bigger outbreaks like Washington and California. So I think that's interesting. Something else that they've noted is that people are not really paying attention to anything that the CDC says, and they are still, kind of freaking out and going into this oversupply mode where they're stockpiling on non-perishable food items and sanitary supplies and prescription medication and all of those things. So lots of shortages when it comes to like gloves and masks and, hand sanitizer and all of those different things. But, I think that in light of the fact that maybe it's not just for convenience, but also if you want to minimize the interaction that you have in places where there might be a lot of germs, like a supermarket, then, the ability to use and leverage Instacart where just one person's bringing that to you, I think is a great thing to take advantage of. And if Instacart, I don't know that it really has impacted what Instacart's business would have been before or not, but obviously people are probably trying to take more advantage of that in areas where there's high outbreaks or some outbreaks.
Some outbreaks. Yeah, no, I think this is super interesting. And I think we're going to see more and more adoption. I think this is a good news story. If you are, there's no great news about coronavirus, infecting people. But, from an economic perspective for delivery services and companies like this, I think this is a boon to them, right? In many ways, as we're seeing other industries benefit, like Netflix and companies like that, where people are staying home, people are downloading more movies and more music and more audiobooks and more whatever, because they're maybe not going to be out sitting on a train reading a real book anymore, or whatever it is. So I think we're going to see a lot of this, and I think it's going to speak to, what will be a significant trend over the next couple of months. But, expect Uber Eats, expect all these companies to really start reporting, a marked increase in numbers in certain markets. But, good on them for sort of taking something they were already doing and testing and kind of, finding ways to kind of standardize it out a little bit more formally. So yeah.
I'm glad somebody formalized my hypothesis that those were going up, even though
You're just an innovator. You're always pushing, people to do their best, Brianna. There you go. All right, that's our 3 industry news stories for this week. We'll shift over now to our member news, and I have the first story this week with our good friends at 7-Eleven. Now, these guys, they're doing all kinds of things. Generally, I applaud this company, for always testing, trying new technologies and solutions. And they're sort of at it again with this new type of store concept that they call the Evolution Store. This is the second one now. They have one, this is the first one, but they're opening a second one in San Diego. The first one's in Washington, D.C. And it's really interesting. They think of it like a sort of like a lab test store where they try out all their latest innovations. They have in both the stores, the San Diego store and the Washington, D.C. store, they have a Laredo Taco Company restaurant inside of the 7-Eleven store. So is it really like a taco restaurant with a 7-Eleven store, or is it a 7-Eleven store with a taco restaurant in it? I don't know, but they seem to highlight that. I haven't been to one of these yet. So if you're in DC and you get out to that, coronavirus permitting, let us know what it's like. But yeah, they lots of different things, made to order specialty drinks, like sort of the full coffee counter, if you will, with mochas and lattes and everything else, smoothies and everything else. They've got cold treats bar with frozen yogurts and ice cream and all that sort of stuff, cookies, croissants. They have the 7 Now delivery app integrated into the store, so you can have your favorite items like fresh food and things like that brought straight to your door as well from this store, sort of picked there in the store and then kind of brought to you. And then they have something called the Cellar, which is an alcove dedicated to an expanded selection of wines and craft beers as well, and a growler station. So they're really kind of turning this into, sort of a full experience type of place, almost like, everything that you would need, sort of on the go, which is sort of the definition of convenience, but more so now today as we think about not just going in, for candy bars and, a bag of milk, but, now all the alcohol that you need, all the, snacks that you need, if you want to go have your, sort of think of it like how you walk into a Whole Foods and there's the bar there, you can have a meal there, like you go have some tacos and some beer in the 7-Eleven. Come on, man.
Well, you stole my line, because I was thinking while you were describing it, I'm like, this sounds like your favorite bodega meets Whole Foods, right? Like everything you need is right there, and it probably is still okay for you to like hit it up in your sweatpants. So
I remember, when we used to do Retail Loco in Austin at South by Southwest, where anytime I would go there, I'd friends, who lived in the city or whatever, I'd be like, oh, let's get together, let's meet up for dinner or a snack or a drink or whatever. And it always blew my mind when people would say, no, Whole Foods is from Austin, but people would say, yeah, we'll just meet you at the bar at the Whole Foods for drinks or whatever. And I'm like, what do you mean we're going to be at the bar at the Whole Foods? And they're like, yeah, we go to the gym across the street, and then after our workout, we go over to the Whole Foods, and I'm like, okay. So it's a thing. It's a thing. And so I guess 7-Eleven is trying to sort of be the next version of that with a taco restaurant.
Yeah. Test it out, man.
All right.
I mean, if you can, the thing about going to Whole Foods is like, it's more of an effort to like park and get into a bigger store. But if you could just go into like a smaller store or just walk into it, I think that's like when you have more of like the convenience play, right?
Yeah.
So I like it. Yeah. All right. Different direction now. We're moving away from food for once. Moving away from food and comfortable clothing and being coronavirus in your house. Okay. TapAd is partnering with Gimbal. Now, this is an interesting story, and I have theories. I have like all of these theories behind this, but TapAd has kind of moved from just being like programmatic advertising space to now being, what they really consider their foundational thing is their cross-device identity resolution.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're partnering with Gimbal. So Gimbal, we know Gimbal very well at LBMA and on this podcast. And they have done a lot with location powered marketing solutions. And they're one specific footfall attribution solution, which is called Arrival, right? So now they are leveraging TapAd's cross-device solution, the TapAd graph, to enhance their footfall attribution called Arrival. Makes sense, right? Pretty straightforward partnership. Now, Arrival delivers like the dwell-based attribution for in-store traffic, and now they're leveraging the cross-device graph to say like, hey, all of these devices equal this person, which was in the store, and tying those things together. So you can say like, this smartphone equals this computer equals this tablet, and blah blah blah, and so on. Pretty simple. I mean, I think that like we saw Gimbal recently acquire Physical, right?
Yeah.
And now, before Gimbal wasn't really in the business of monetizing data or licensing data, and they sort of got into that with Physical, and now they're working with TapAd. I mean, I could totally see Gimbal acquiring somebody else and kind of continuing to add these little like notches on for all of these different location solutions. So I feel like it's very interesting. I don't know who that could be, but I have ideas, but we'll see what happens in the next, 6 months. We're going to continue. I think we're going to continue to see these partnerships, but I think partnerships oftentimes are sort of like the dipping the toe in the water to see how things go. And I think we're going to continue to see these types of companies like lump together because of the change in the ecosystem that's approaching us, with cookies going away, with potentially device IDs or MAIDs going away and not being available for use from an advertising perspective. And so I think that companies have to sort of leverage what they have and where they're really deeply invested. And so clumping those things together makes sense. And so I anticipate we're going to continue to see more of this, and we're going to continue to see some more companies just sort of phase out.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think the environment is changing. There's a need for some companies will disappear altogether. Others will team up and join, as we're seeing already. I think there's going to be a lot of M&A activity this year, or at least investments. I mean, it's interesting because just this past week was the annual LiveRamp conference. I find that conference for me is always a great sort of showcase of this type of partnership and synergies between companies in the industry. And in a lot of ways, like, you look at sort of what Gimbal's doing and some of the alliances and some of the things that are forming up. Maybe there's, a need to have another LiveRamp, if you will, right? Or, someone that can kind of sort of balance the ecosystem a little bit more in that way. So I think there's more to come. I'm with you. I'm not going to speculate at this point, but I think there's a lot more to come. And I could see some other LBMA members getting involved in partnering and or being acquired or something like that by one of these players. So there you go. Good on Gimbal and TapAd. Yeah. All right, final story for this week. Now, on this show, over the last year or so in particular, we've talked a lot about sort of the growing power of voice technology, platforms like Siri and Alexa and all those types of things. And Pandora this time has really embraced voice with a new type of ad. It's basically an ad that responds. It's an interactive voice ad that responds to, being people speaking in response to it, essentially. So basically you hear the ad, it's a voice ad, and then you answer it verbally. You either say yes, the ad asks you a question or whatever the sort of the keyword is that it's looking for, but you're able to actually respond in a lot of ways. When you call up like customer service at the airline, you got to change your reservation or whatever, and you get into the sort of the automated system, and it says say your number or say yes or say no. It's kind of like that, but for ads now over the Pandora network. They've got a number of brands that have been playing around with this, including Doritos, Ashley Home Stores, Unilever, Wendy's, Turner Broadcasting, Comcast, and Nestle. And the one example they say, if you like, so for example, there's an ad for Wendy's that asks listeners if they're hungry, and if they say yes, then the ad continues by offering a recommendation about what to eat. So it's kind of like think all the best of sort of those call center type of applications, sort of the way you interact with your Alexa type of device at home in asking it things, but brought into a mobile advertising format. So I think this is super cool and interesting. I think there's a lot of potential with this format of advertising that can really change the game for many brands. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that this is really smart. And what I was thinking about is like every once in a while when you hear an ad that resonates with you, and the audience targeting or whatever has been done really well, you have questions immediately like, oh, I wonder if whatever. So I think that the ability to maybe like ask or no makes so much sense in that moment. And maybe if it doesn't resonate, I think it also helps them with their I guess like further filtration or further segmentation of what who this resonates with and why. So I think that's one really cool point. The other thing is I'm thinking like, please do not, I hope I never hear these ads, because as we started this show off with me saying, if somebody puts like a bad food thought in my head, I will, it like just lingers there until I go and get that. So if they were like, remember, when you used to eat Doritos at the pool on summer days, so happy. That will be like, it'll be the antithesis to everything that I'm doing, like eating healthy and working out now. So, but I think it's super smart. And I love the idea of being able to interact on the spot, like in that given moment. I think that it's smart from not only an efficacy perspective, but also from a further fine tuning for the advertiser. So I think it's awesome.
There you go. Great job, Pandora. And by the way, they're using technology from companies called Instreamatic and AdsWiz are the two companies that sort of power that. So the interactive voice ads are from Instreamatic, and AdsWiz provides the voice ad specifications. So there you go.
I thought
I haven't heard of either company, so there you go.
I thought maybe AdWiz was the one working with the
the billboard for the dogs. Okay. That's our show for this week. You've been listening to Location Weekly, episode number 455. We thank you for listening and watching. Please, if you have story ideas, reach out to us. If you have feedback, recommendations, let us know. Give us some likes, give us some stars, whatever you can. We love it all, and we just thank you for listening and watching every week. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll be back to chat with you next week.
Bye.